Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. In one of my recent videos, I talked about how, while I appreciate when games include paper play mats to get people started quickly in a game, I don't particularly like paper play mats and I would never really go out and buy one. And that actually reminded me that that's not entirely true, because once upon a time, many moons ago, I did buy some paper play mats for a game, and that game was the Lord of the Rings Tradeable Miniatures Game, a game that has been defunct for quite some time. And yeah, I bought a couple of map sets for it. Here they are, still in their packaging. And yeah, it sort of reminded me that I'd bought some for this particular game, and it reminded me about this game in general. So I went up into my storage area and fished out the miniatures for it, and I thought I'd do a quick video and show off some of this stuff, because this was a pretty cool game. It was actually a collectible game. It used the trading card game format, but with miniatures, which wasn't the first game to do that. I mean, it's sort of a Hero Clicks type vibe to it. The company in question was Sabertooth Games. Now, my understanding is, I may not be 100% right on this, because I believe in 2002 Games Workshop acquired Sabertooth Games, because Sabertooth Games had previously produced a card game that was a licensed product from Games Workshop, and then Games Workshop thought, this tradable malarkey's doing gangbusters at the moment, we want a piece of that. So they acquired a major share of Sabertooth Games. And that subsequently led to them producing the Lord of the Rings Tradeable Miniatures Game, because obviously Games Workshop were doing big business with the Lord of the Rings game at that time. And a lot of the miniatures seem to be, they're scaled up from Games Workshop miniatures. They're not the same size, but they are basically the same sculpts. But this was a line of pre-painted Hero Click style miniatures. And yeah, it was a good little game. It's long gone now, and Sabertooth Games are gone. I guess Games Workshop discontinued that avenue at that particular time, but it did well for quite some time. There was a starter set which had some miniatures in it. There was a selection of promo figures that were available in different ways, some from starter sets and some from different events. Then there was a base set. I got a complete set of the base set, which kind of covered all of the movies. Then there was a set specifically for the Fellowship of the Ring, a set specifically for Two Towers, and a set specifically for Return of the King. By the time it got to Two Towers, they had introduced cavalry. And then there was also several big miniatures, and because of the scale of the models, they were excessively large. And those were also premium miniatures. And yeah, I got a complete set of the base set, a complete set of Fellowship, and there was also a Army of the Dead set. And any that I didn't get complete sets of, I basically sold off what I had. So I just kept a complete set of the base set and a complete set of the Fellowship and the premium figures that I had, except for the Witch King on Fellbeast and a Nazgul on a Fellbeast, which I eventually sold them because they were just huge and they took up a huge amount of space. But let's have a quick look and see what it's all about. So if I show you some miniatures, you may well recognise. Like I say, some of these sculpts are basically lifted straight from Games Workshop's Lord of the Rings line, but the scale is bigger. But this is Lurtz. This was actually one of the like a promo type figure that came in the base game. The way they did it is there was a base set which I think it had about 8 or 10 miniatures in it, and then from then on it was all blind boosters, and you got 3 miniatures in a set, and there was rarity, so there was a common, an uncommon, and a rare version of almost every miniature, and there were actually differences between them. So the uncommon miniature would actually have a different sculpt. For example, let me show you Gandalf. You will notice as well that for pre-painted miniatures, I think the paint jobs are absolutely excellent. I have never seen pre-painted miniatures of this caliber except for maybe Crossmaster, but those are much, much bigger. These are so, I mean, HeroClix pales in comparison to these guys. These guys really are good. Some of them are much better than others, and I've got a few different examples to show you. But this was this is a PR code one on this guy, so this was one of the promo ones. And then there was this guy who was so he would have been rare. This guy is ultra rare, I believe. But you can see it's basically the same sculpt, but they replaced the arm. Put Glamdring in there. So each miniature in terms of rarity was different. Let me show you a different example. Let's show you. We've got base set Aragorn with his bendy sword, because obviously Hot Water Treatment sorts these out, but these guys have been in storage for a long time and they were literally just chucked in a box, so they've gone a bit bibbly bobbly bendy. But so there's a base set Aragorn, and then I also have a version of Aragorn that came with a cave troll miniature. So here's a PR code, and you see it's basically the same miniature, but they've given him a flaming brand here. Actually, I don't think this one did come with cave troll. I think this one may have been a base set one. Yeah, this was a base set one, because this is Aragorn when he's fighting the Nazgul on top of Weathertop with his flaming brand. There is a different version again of him in with the cave troll. A lot of the hero characters had a lot of different versions, but you can see that obviously this guy, this Aragorn, is looking quite. He's off into the middle distance there with his stare. This one is painted much better, and as with any pre-painted line, the paint job depended on who was holding the brush. You will notice the bases. To begin with, they had these slideys, and you've got two bars. One bar is hit points, and one bar is action points for special abilities. And every character had a series of special abilities, and it would tell you how many action points it cost to activate those abilities. So I can't remember what these abilities are off the top of my head. It's years since I actually played this game, but I did enjoy it. It was good fun. But yeah, you could activate these abilities, and then you would obviously knock down your action points accordingly. And if you took wounds, then you took wounds. Yeah, and they were sliders originally, which it's not very attractive on the base to have those big chunky things. So what they subsequently did from the Fellowship onwards is they changed to spinny dials, which is much nicer. So you would go from 5 and then you'd go down as you use your abilities. And yeah, different versions of the characters would have different abilities as well as a different sculpt. This is everybody's favourite. This is Boromir, really nicely painted version of Boromir, and here is a different version of him. This is the rare version of him, and you can see what they've done there is they've just repositioned his sword arm. But if we look on the back, you can see they've got different abilities. Cool stuff. So it wasn't a full war game, it was a skirmish game, which is why they had the paper mats. And let me show you one. Whoops, sorry, knocked the camera. So I'm not going to unfold it because it's massive. But yeah, it was a hex-based skirmish game. And the maps, the black lines were walls, orange lines are kind of limiting terrain. X's were spaces that you couldn't go into. And yeah, you would set up your two skirmish forces and have a bit of a battle. And it was actually a really decent game. Like I said, it did very well for quite some time. It had some cool ideas as well. And also, like I said, for pre-painted miniatures, this is Sam. I think they did a really, really good job. Where's one of my favourites? It's Galadriel. I don't know how well they're going to come out on camera, but I think they did a really, really good job. And they even gave Galadriel sort of like a shimmer pearlescent. That's not going to come out on camera very well, but it's sort of like a glimmering cloak. It's very, very nice. Excuse me. And yeah, we've got Legolas. This one is a PL code because he did come with the Cave Troll. They released a Cave Troll set, and you got the Cave Troll, and then you also got Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn in fighting a Cave Troll mode. And here is said Cave Troll. Ooh. Kush kush. Ooh. As you can see, quite large, but you know, really nicely done. Like that a lot. I think this was the first premium miniature or bigature that they released. Or this one may have been the first. Sauron. Sauron was like 1,000,000 points to put into play. He was a 2,000 point character. For comparison, we've got here's Lurtz. Lurtz was 135 points. Some of the big hitters. Boromir there was 520 points. The most powerful good character was Gandalf in his butt-kicking mode. We'll get to him in a moment. Here's a Gondorian warrior. This was sort of your rank and file dudes. 25 points. Yeah, you're going to chuck a lot of them at Sauron. I think one of the problems was they didn't really think about the fact that a 2,000 point Sauron model, you would have so many enemy figures on the table just against Sauron, and he was an arrow magnet, and you could just pin cushion him to bits. So he wasn't actually as scary as you would think for, because he just didn't have the support, and he, you know, you could just take him out at range. But this was one of my favourites. It's Treebeard. One of the cool things about Treebeard is he came with a little Merry and Pippin figure. I've grabbed 2 Merry and Pippin figures. I don't think they are the ones that actually came with him. No, these are both base set ones. There's Merry and Pippin, and the cool thing about Merry and Pippin is you could actually, if I can remember how they go, you could sit them. The miniature was designed. You could see it's got like little claws on the top that are actually designed to hold hex-based miniatures. So you could actually go for a ride with Treebeard, and Merry and Pippin had special rules for chucking rocks. Oh, he's dead. He's dead. Never mind. Harumph. But yeah, there were special rules for chucking rocks from the top of Treebeard, and Treebeard was 610 points. So he was, he was able to take out a lot of things, but he wasn't really gonna go toe to toe with Sauron. So that was cool. I quite liked that. It was the way they integrated a game mechanism into the miniature itself, and also I think it's just a really nice miniature. They did a really good job on the face. It's very accurate to the movie, and the paint job's nice. Just big. It's just big though, isn't it? One of the other things I really enjoyed about this game was that Frodo actually had an ability to wear the One Ring, and they actually did a miniature of Frodo wearing the One Ring. Here it is. See him? Probably my favourite miniature from the whole line. Frodo wearing the One Ring. So yeah, that was a good miniature. That actually came with the base set of the game. You didn't have to sort of fish for that one in a blind bag. But there you go, Frodo wearing the One Ring. So that was cool. And yeah, like I say, one of the most powerful good characters was obviously Gandalf. And here he is saying, You shall not pass! And he was 1,500 points. And the reason he is shouting, you shall not pass, is because obviously he is fighting a Balrog. And while I didn't keep my Nazgul on Fellbeast, or Witch King on Fellbeast, I did keep the Balrog. Here he is. Look how many hexes the base takes up. The sword is Mahusiv. He's a 1,500 point character as well. So he was designed, they came in the same set together so they could go toe to toe. And it does look suitably impressive. Why did I keep the Balrog when he was pretty much the same size as the Nazgul were on their fell beasts? The reason I kept him is because my mum and dad bought me the Balrog for my birthday one year, and I was a bit surprised because my mum and dad aren't in the habit of buying me weird toys. They tend to want to buy me something useful for my birthday, but for reasons they bought me the Balrog, and it was such a weird thing to get such a gift from my parents that he has remained in my collection, even though he is absolutely huge to the point where I can't actually get him in the camera shot properly. You shall not pass. Shut up. And there we go. That is a quick look. I mean, I could spend all day looking through my collection. I've got a lot of them. They've not been well treated, really. They ended up just being shoved in a cupboard out of the way. But I had a lot of fun collecting these. I am not someone who's into trading games and collectible card games by nature. I have a love-hate relationship with them. That I don't really like them because once I start buying into them, I kind of want them all, and so I tend to avoid them where possible. But this was back in the days when I had finished university, and I had just started getting back into board gaming and stuff, and I kind of was looking at it as something that I could collect. And I love Lord of the Rings. I'm a massive fan of Lord of the Rings, particularly the movies. And so seeing these, it kind of felt like something that I could collect and gradually build up over time. And yeah, I spent a huge amount of money on these because obviously much more expensive than collecting a tradable card game. But some really nice stuff, some really nice miniatures, and it was a decent game. They had to tweak the rules a little bit. You also got with each pack of miniatures, you also got cool dice. Lots of different kinds. So we had that was the dice that actually came with the Cave Troll. That was a base set dice with the Eye of Sauron. Then they did, I think that was from the Two Towers set. No, that was from a Return of the King set, but they did two different types. They had the sort of the crystally ones and then the normal ones. That was the Two Towers set. And we've got, there we go, there's the two different types of dice for the Two Towers set, the shimmer ones and the solid ones. That was the Fellowship of the Ring set with the Leaves of Lothlorien. And there was something else. What else was there? Oh yeah, a humongous Balrog dice, which I should imagine dice collectors would be very interested in, because it's a beautiful thing. It's a thing of beauty. I don't believe they included one with Treebeard, but that was the only one I think that didn't get a special dice. But yeah, so that was cool. Yeah, everything about it was cool except for the fact that it was very expensive to collect a whole set, and then it kind of got cancelled at the point when they were just about to release Shelob, I believe. So they never released a Shelob. There was an armoured troll which was available for a very limited period of time. But pretty much at the point when they released the Nazgul on the Fellbeast, the game was pretty much dead in the water at that point, and it'd run its course. But they'd got through all of the movies by that point, and they were releasing, like I say, there was an Army of the Dead set, which unfortunately I didn't manage to complete, so eventually I sold that off. And I sold off all the cavalry miniatures as well, because I wasn't able to get a complete set of those. Because yeah, like I said, I wanted to keep the things that were complete. But yeah, there we go. I don't know if this was of any interest to anybody. I don't recall much about the rules, but obviously, like I say, the main gimmick was the fact that you had the action points and the actions on there and the health points, and it was a hex-based skirmish game. There was a cool mechanism for linking warriors together to form a chain, and that made their attacks stronger and things. But yeah, it was good. It was a good fun time, and I like the miniatures. And although they just live in a cupboard now, I do still every now and again fish them out. But like I say, I haven't played the game itself for quite some time. And I do think they are a very fine example of pre-painted miniatures, which normally look a little bit of a dog's dinner. I don't know. Anybody else know some really good pre-painted lines? I've not seen anything that's comparable to these. And I guess that's it, really. I hope you found this interesting. If not, sorry, I guess. And hopefully, if you come back again, my next video will be more interesting for you. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye-bye.